welcome you to Wisconsin. This year, we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage. And I expect you to understand my enormous pride that Wisconsin was the very first state to ratify the 19th Amendment. But I also have to note that despite that hard-fought victory, not every woman in America was able to claim her franchise. Native American women, and women of color in particular, faced decades of obstacles to exercising their right to vote. And we know that as women, our voices, our visibility, and our votes are essential to achieving equity, equality, and justice, and to building back better. And that's why the nomination of my friend and Senate colleague Kamala Harris is so important. You know, I have to reflect on an experience I had as a very young graduate of college. It was 1984, and I was watching the Democratic National Convention on television. I had my whole future in front of me. I hadn't even landed my first job. But seeing her take the stage and accept the Democratic nomination for vice president made me feel I can do anything. I could achieve anything. And I have to think about all the young girls and boys who will watch tonight and see Kamala Harris be nominated and give her speech. It's going to transform many lives. So I hope your meetings will continue to be successful and fruitful, as we have so much work to do between now and November 3rd. And now I'd like to pass the mic back to your chair, Lottie Shackelford. Thank you for your leadership and
Thank you, Senator Baldwin. Milwaukee has rolled out the red carpet. They rolled out the red carpet via iPads and laptops, PCs and cell phones, and we feel the love. Shirley Chisholm once said, "You don't make progress by standing on the sidelines, whimpering and complaining." Well, delegates, I'm not whimpering and I'm not complaining because this is a virtual convention. Yes, this is a very different convention experience, but guess what? We are the first Democrats in history to have the opportunity to come together virtually and nominate our candidates for president and vice president. And what a virtual convention week it's been. From First Lady Michelle Obama's incredible remarks that kicked us off on Monday night, to our future First Lady headlining last night. And tonight, we'll hear our next Vice President, Kamala Harris. So, Women's Caucus, we're going to keep the excitement going. Our theme for today is our votes, our voice, our victory. For so many of us, our lives are on the line. For all of us, the stakes are too high to lose in November, which is why we're all here today, to get fired up, to get charged up, and to make history together. We have an action-packed lineup today, and I'm so thrilled. We'll be hearing from many women who are leading in the halls of Congress, rallying for reproductive freedom across the country, and women speaking truth to power in so many ways. And before we begin our meeting, a bit of fun housekeeping. First of all, I'd like to introduce my handy tech support, my granddaughter, Jessica Henderson. Say hi, Jessica.
Hi, everyone.
Second, I want to remind you that we want to hear from you. Share your convention experience by tagging at Democrats and at Democrat Convention, Dem Convention, I'm sorry. And if you tag hashtag DNC Women's Caucus, we just might be able to retweet you. What about that? Now to kick off our meeting, we're so pleased to have some of our future leaders to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And in a moment, we'll be welcoming Grace and Miles to the stage. Because you see, we're not just raising feminist daughters, we're raising feminist sons as well. So with that, kick us off, Grace and Miles.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alabama. I am the owner and founder of I Am Japonica Enterprise and the author of I Have Something to Say. The poem I'm going to speak to you today is entitled, That's Something to Be. We are hope, a well of water that feeds all that surround us, the softness of our sensibilities, the complexities of our savvy, birth to give life, giving and strong, pillars of the future. We are women, and our voices have value. Our voices are heard. We are the essence on earth that gives freedom to breathe. We are creations of curvature, world changers, innovators of the new, curators of the old, pioneers of progress. We are vice president candidates of these United States of America. With the click of our heels and the movement of our sneakers, the healing of our hands and the backs that stand together, we move mountains. We never heard no, and we do not accept not yet. And the resilience inside of us wouldn't let us put our dreams to bed. We are women. And what a gift to be. And if I wasn't a woman, I'd have to come back just so I could be me. We are not defined by our shortcomings and mistakes. And our limitations are just opportunities to reflect because we are women. What makes us women has nothing to do with what we look like, but our obtained ability to sustain the beauty of life. Our pain and challenges, our joys and successes, what makes us champions. Smile. You are in the presence of women. Wake up this morning in your various skin tones and hair, sizes and shapes, accents and perspectives, and know that you are a presence on this earth. When you walk, the ground trembles. Thunder claps when you speak. The oceans roar when you weep. You are a woman, and that's something to be. Thank you.
She wears another hat of chief campaigner, engaging the nation to help elect the Biden-Harris ticket. Well, there's one more hat we can't wait for Jill Biden to wear, that of First Lady of these United States. Please join me in giving a big virtual welcome to Dr. Jill Biden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lottie, and thank you for all the work you've done in our party to lift up women's voices over the years. As the first woman to be mayor of Little Rock and the longest serving vice chair of the DNC, you know what it takes to bring people together, make hard choices, and get work done. You know our past, and you have a vision for our future. And that's why Joe and I are so proud to have you on our team. This isn't the convention that we imagined. And yet, like so many things this year, we are finding joy in the unexpected. Even if we can't be together, I feel the excitement everywhere. I feel the passion and dedication from all of you. The commitment to live up to the legacy of 100 years of women voting. I know we're ready to do the hard work of getting Joe and Kamala elected. And let me say, I am so excited to have Kamala on our ticket. Aren't you? Joe has always surrounded himself with strong women, and Kamala's vision and passion make her the perfect partner for the challenges ahead. She and Doug are already bringing so much to our team, and I can't wait to see what we can accomplish together. Women are going to decide this election, and I know that each and every one of you is going to work as hard as you can from now until November to make sure women's voices are heard in this election. It's not going to be easy, but when the days feel long, I want you to think about what we're working toward. So picture it's 2021. It's a beautiful morning like today, and you're sipping your coffee. You pick up the morning paper, and the headline isn't about some late night tweet storm. Instead, it's a story about the children who will benefit from universal pre-kindergarten. You turn on the television, and the anchors aren't talking about a pandemic raging out of control with no end in sight. Instead, they're talking about how we're going to build on the Affordable Care Act with a public option and bring down drug prices. And they're reporting that finally, someone is standing up to the NRA to keep our kids and our schools safe. And when they cut to the President of the United States, you don't turn the channel. You call in your kids from the other room because you want them to hear what the President of the United States has to say. A commander-in-chief you can trust. An honest leader who brings people together instead of tearing families apart. A president and Madam Vice President you can be proud of. As I said yesterday, Americans have the grit to get through this pandemic. We're putting our shoulders back and fighting for each other. We haven't given up. We just need leadership worthy of our nation, worthy of you. Honest leadership to bring us back together, to recover from this pandemic and prepare for whatever else is next. Leadership to reimagine what our nation will be. That's Joe and Kamala. So keep up the great work. Keep organizing and volunteering and speaking up, because all of these individual actions we take today add up to something powerful this November. And together, we will make the future ours. So I want to end by saying thank you. Thank you for all you've done and for all you'll do in this election. Thank you for fighting for our future. And thank you for your faith in an idea that's bigger than any of us. And that is that we will build a better nation because we're going to do this together.
Thank you so much. This is so exciting. Wow. The First Lady of the United States speaking to us here. I am so excited to be able to come right after you. And wow, let's get to work. And speaking of work, our next speaker is a very, very brave person to come to a caucus of all women and to be the only male speaking to this caucus. Wow. And especially Democratic women. Chairman Prez is a supporter of women and women's rights. He has always fought hard for the working woman and understands that there is an economic divide in this country. Kudos to you for giving us, many people, the opportunity to zoom in to meetings like this. Even though we cannot come together, this convention has expanded the viewership for thousands to hear our message and see our elected officials in caucuses, council meetings, and other meetings that folks would not otherwise be able to see. Please welcome our chair and my friend, Tom Prez.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be with you. Betty, thank you for your kind introduction, and thank you for your longstanding friendship and leadership as our co-chair of our Rural Caucus and Council and on the Women's Caucus. Folks, I'm so excited to be with you, and I'm so excited to be the only man speaking to you. I feel very, very honored to be doing that. And as a man who's celebrating his 32nd wedding anniversary next week, proud father of 2 daughters, surrounded by women who are so excited about the barriers we are about to reach and break through this November. I come to you with both great excitement, but also a sense of determination because, folks, we can do this. And I am just so excited about this evening. I'm so excited about hearing from Kamala Harris. I'm so excited about hearing from other strong women like Nancy Pelosi and all of the speakers that are on tonight. We have so much work to do. And we know, folks, we got 75 days till the weekend. And I think one of the remarkable ironies of our success this November is going to be the fact that roughly 54% of the voters this November are going to be women. And I just think it is absolutely appropriate that Donald Trump gets thrown out of office on the strength of women coming to the polls. Strong women coming to the polls to say, Donald Trump, you do not stand for our values. That's what we have to do. That's what we're going to do. And that's what I am confident you will do. I have to give a special shout out to Lottie Shackelford, your wonderful chair of the caucus. Lottie has been such a great leader and again, a friend and advisor to me. Lottie, I always appreciate your candor, your experience, your steady hand at the tiller. We have made so much progress thanks to you and thanks to everyone on this caucus. Folks, this is all about doing the work we have to do. I don't think I need to make the case about the matter at hand. We've had so many compelling witnesses and speakers that have come forth this week, some of whom are our heroes longstanding, Michelle Obama, last night, Jill Biden. Others are people you didn't hear about before, but those are people we wanted to make sure you heard from. Many of those remarkable 17 leaders who made that remarkably passionate and exciting endorsement of the vice president last night. I'm guessing you didn't know some of them, but they are all so remarkable. Kristen from Arizona, remember her? She said that her father's one pre-existing condition is that he trusted Joe Biden. And he trusted Donald Trump when Donald Trump said that you couldn't get sick. Kristen, thank you for coming forward. And I hope you've seen in this very unconventional convention that we can still respond under such serious circumstances. We can respond as a party and move forward together. That's exactly what we've done. And tonight is going to be a remarkable evening, as I said. I can't wait to hear from Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is someone I know very well. She is someone whose family I know very well. She will prosecute the case against Donald Trump. She will prosecute the case for Joe Biden. Joe Biden wants strong people around him. Joe Biden wants strong women around him. Witness Jill Biden. And Joe Biden made the right choice with Kamala Harris. And you know what, folks? We're going to hear from her tonight. We're going to hear from President Obama tonight. And we're going to hear from, again, so many people who understand the moment. And you understand the moment. Now, we have to continue our work moving forward. We got 75 days till the weekend, folks. 75 days until the most important election of our lifetime. And I am absolutely confident we can do this, but I am equally confident that we can only do this with your continuing support. We have been making massive investments working together with the Biden campaign. This has been a seamless transition. You may be wondering, how are things going? Things are going really, really well. I think we have written the playbook on how a campaign and a campaign committee come together as one to make sure that we bring all of our strengths to the table. The cultures of our DNC and the Biden campaign have melded incredibly well. Our battlegrounds continue to increase. We can win Texas, Betty. I'm confident we can do that. We can win so many other states. And what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris bring to the table is they bring to the table the ability for us to expand the map. And that's exactly what we're doing, because we know that we have to win not only the presidency, but we have to take the Senate. We have to take governor's mansions. We have to take state houses. And that we can do. And the common denominator in all of this is going to be the role of women. Look at all the candidates for Senate. We are going to take the Senate back, and women are going to play such an enormous role, whether it's in Iowa, whether it's in Kansas, whether it's in Maine, so many places where women can play a critical role in our taking back the Senate. And we know we have to win the White House, but we also know that in order to govern, we must have both chambers, because we can't allow Mitch McConnell to be in charge. And that's why we're competing in Kentucky in that Senate seat. That's why we're competing in Texas in that Senate seat. We can win in all of these places with your help. It is such a thrill for me on a personal level. It's been such a thrill to get to know Jill Biden. You saw her last night, and I had the privilege of working with her during Team Obama. I traveled with her once to North Carolina, and on the plane ride, we couldn't talk that much because here's what was going on. She was grading papers. You heard that story last night. I experienced that. And when we got to the community college that we were speaking at, there were about 200 people, and they all thought that her one job, because it's a huge job, was being second lady. And you should have seen the look on their faces when they learned that the second lady of the United States had a second full-time job. It was remarkable. But that's who Jill Biden is, and that's who Joe Biden is. And that is who they are. That's what they're going to bring to this country. And we will succeed this November. We will succeed with this caucus. Let's get to work. Let's continue our work together. Tonight is going to be the night to honor one of the remarkable women in America, in Kamala Harris. And when we win this in November, it will be because of women coming forward. So thank you again, Lottie. Thank you again to Betty. Thank you again to everyone there. Thank you for letting one man speak at the caucus. One man is going to fight with all of you to make sure we win together. Adelante. Thank you so much.
Well, that is wonderful to follow the one man speaking. This is Amy Klobuchar talking, and I'm very pleased that Tom Perez was able to break the glass ceiling and be allowed to speak today. I also very much enjoyed his remarks and the point he made about this virtual convention. While we don't get to wear and be in the big group and go to the after parties like we're used to, we can still put on our hats, hold our signs, put on the aviator glasses. But what I loved, especially in addition to, of course, Michelle's speech, I loved that roll call last night. And when Tom was just talking about the women from from Arizona was incredible the night before. I just cherish that roll call to see people that you normally wouldn't see coming out for a convention. Okay, I will admit, I didn't know about Rhode Island and the calamari and that memorable video. But I also think that America saw America as it is, not how Donald Trump wants people to think it is. It's what it is. And so I love that. And I will equally love seeing my friend Kamala take the stage tonight. You know, campaigns can bring people apart. This presidential campaign brought us closer together. We spent the night before Thanksgiving, our families together. She and I and Elizabeth, the three of us near the end there for the debates, would have that 3 minutes to run to the bathroom for a break and come back. And of course, we never talked about the male candidates. And what I want America to see today and the coming weeks is not just the incredible experience woman she is and what she will bring to our country, the fact that she's managed the second biggest Justice Department to the Justice Department, but also her joy, her zest for life, that incredible smile. And that's what I want America to see in the coming weeks, and I know they will. So I was thinking about what else is on the ballot. You've got great speakers all afternoon today. But what I was thinking about was the U.S. Senate today. Because as I see Speaker Pelosi bringing back the House on an emergency basis, I see Mitch McConnell blocking the way once again. And as you know, we have such key Senate seats all over the country. And you know what they are. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there's really exciting races. And it is well within our reach to not just win the White House, but take back the Senate. One of the things that's been very exciting in the last few years for me is all the women. We now have 26 women senators. And I think back when I first started, there was like 16. Trevor Noah once said when I was on his show that if a nightclub had those numbers, the ratio of men to women, they'd shut it down. Well, we were close to doing that. And then we started adding more and more women. And it's not just the numbers, it's the impact that they've had in our politics, starting, of course, with Speaker Pelosi. And as I said once on the debate stage, if you think women can't beat Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi does it every single day. There have been moments that I will always cherish, like Debbie Stabenow in the Affordable Care Act debate, when some man across the table from her, a Republican senator, said, "Why would we include maternity benefits in our package?" He said, "I'd never use them. Why would they be mandatory?" Without missing a beat, she said, "I bet your mother used them," and they got included. And you think of the leadership of women from Senator Feinstein with the Intelligence Committee and the work she did unveiling torture and what had happened, to the work Barbara Boxer did when she was in the Senate, to my friend Patty Murray, who, if we take over the Senate, will run the committee dealing with the pandemic and health. All of this is going to be on the ballot. When Donald Trump says it is no big deal, it is no big deal. Remember that, what he said about the virus at the beginning? We all know it's a big deal. Moms know it who don't know how to educate their kids this fall, have no idea what they're going to do. Mom and dads know it that are trying to get childcare for their kids. It's a big deal. And you know what else is a big deal? Reproductive rights are a big deal. This idea that 96% of Americans think that women should have access to contraception. Oh, that's a really, really big deal. Our constitutional rights are a big deal. And this idea that we can have decency and dignity in the White House, that is a big deal. So that is what's at stake in this election. So let's do everything we can in the next few months to make sure he doesn't stop us and our friends and everyone we know from voting. Let's make it very clear to our friends out there, and this is what my speech was about crossing that river of our divides, to independents and moderate Republicans, that in fact, competence matters. That you can't have a president that says, as Michelle reminded us on Monday night, it is what it is, when over 150,000 Americans have died because of this coronavirus. That we have to have a president that believes in America and has the compassion to do the right thing. And I see Lottie out there, and I think of everything she's fought for. And today, Lottie, when Kamala takes that stage, we know that every little girl, every African American little girl, every Indian American little girl, every little girl out there is going to know anything and everything is possible. Let's tune in tonight and let's win this election. Thanks.
And thank you, Senator. Oh, it was just wonderful hearing your words, getting us all fired up. This week, we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. Thanks, Wisconsin, for being the first state to ratify the amendment. And thanks to my state, Arkansas, for being the 12th state to ratify the 19th Amendment. We pay homage to all of those who labored and endeavored to help this country move forward, including 22 courageous, valiant, and visionary Black collegiate women from Howard University, the founders of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a group of young, empowered women who refuse to be erased from the narrative of what it means to be a woman in these United States. In some ways, it's hard to believe that 100 years later, women still find ourselves rallying against the root causes of divisiveness, destruction, and discrimination in our country. But on the other side of the coin, I'm reminded of why I got involved into politics in the first place. When I was a little girl, growing up in Little Rock, Arkansas, I would tag along with my daddy as he sold poll tax receipts. That's right, poll tax receipts. They cost $1, and you couldn't vote without one. In those times, and still today, there are a lot of good, hardworking people who don't have $1 to spare in our country. And because of this, they are disenfranchised. This happened in my lifetime, and we know it's still happening, just in different ways today. We call it voter suppression. It's easy to feel that progress doesn't come fast enough, because when our lives are on the line, it's never fast enough. But we're witnessing a reckoning in this country, a reckoning of women who, as Fannie Lou Hamer said, are sick and tired of being sick and tired. But we know what we have to do, and we know why. Because we harnessed the energy on the heels of the historic nomination of Hillary Clinton for president in 2016. We flipped the U.S. House of Representatives in 2018. And rounding out in this presidential election year, we Democrats, men and women, are electing Kamala Harris vice president and Joe Biden president. So take it from the little girl from Arkansas who grew up helping her dad sell poll tax receipts. I'm not letting anyone stop me from casting my vote this November. I thank the women who marched over 100 years ago. I thank my sisters of Delta Sigma Theta for demanding that the definition of women not be limited to white women. I thank all the leaders of the civil rights movement who march for our full voting rights. And I thank all of you who are here today, because if you're here, you're part of this fight. And with that, I'd like to introduce our discussion on voting rights, starting with this 19th Amendment video.
Women are running this country. It's been 100 years since women obtained the right to vote from the signing of the 19th Amendment. But even though many fought for and gained that right, women of color, especially Black women, had to contend with additional hurdles in order to be included in the movement. Women like Ida B. Wells broke barriers when she organized a racially inclusive women's suffrage movement in the late 1800s, being among many to push for gender equality. Fast forward to 2018, and now we see women in all sorts of leadership roles, taking the path they forged and continuing to pave it for future generations. In the midterms, women were elected to Congress in record-breaking numbers.
Americans voted in more than 100 women to the House of Representatives, a red to blue flip.
This campaign has been built on bringing new leaders to the table.
And it is women who are holding our democracy together in these dangerous times.
Women are the wall, and that is absolutely right. We are the wall. You will not roll back our rights.
We need to advance and fight for an America where all people are welcome and no people are left behind.
This is a fight not only for the soul of our country, it is a fight born out of love of country, and we Democrats will win.
And now, in 2020, we have a barrier-breaking woman on the Democratic ticket with Kamala Harris as the vice presidential nominee. Women keep making history up and down the ballot, and this November, we'll continue to make history. If you want to join us in this fight, text VOTE to 43367 or go to iwillvote.com to make sure you're prepared for this upcoming election.
Well, hello. I have the privilege and the honor of introducing Representative Marsha Fudge. She is the representative for the 11th Congressional District in Ohio. And if you haven't seen her on national TV, you truly have missed out. She is always asked to come back on CNN and MSNBC, and I'm always there to watch her. So she is really exciting, a trendsetter, and I just love her. Do you know that she was considered to be a vice presidential candidate herself? If you didn't know that, you know that now. You know, the 19th Amendment became law 100 years ago, which finally guaranteed women the right to vote. And that was a century ago. And Representative Martha Fudge has been in the forefront of making sure and leading that fight for voting rights for all and equal access to the ballot box. We need 100 more of Martha Fudges. So without further ado, here you have Representative Marsha Fudge.
Thank you so very, very much, Alex. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be with you all this evening. This is the most exciting time we've had in a very long time. I am so encouraged about where we are in this nation and where we are as women. You know the story. We are celebrating now the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote. Clearly, you know that before 1848 in Seneca Falls, Black women were fighting for equality in a different way. We know that even in the March of 1913, Black women were not invited. We were unwelcomed, but we marched anyway. So I thank Ida B. Wells, and I thank Mary Church Terrell, and I thank the founders of Delta Sigma Theta and all of those who were there to fight for our equality and to fight for justice. And as we find ourselves today in a time of seeking justice and equality for all people, I'm just so glad to say that now all women, Black, brown, white, Asian, and Native, we are all coming together to join forces for a victory for what is now the most gender and race diverse ticket in the history of this nation. I am excited because now it is our time. Victor Hugo says that nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. Our time has come. It is the time for Biden and Harris. It is our time to use our power as women. For we know that when we vote, we win. Because we are the champions for ensuring an educational system that gives every child an opportunity to succeed. We are the champions for better wages, for health care for all people, for Medicaid, for Medicare, for Social Security. We are the champions for ending childhood hunger. We are the ones who want to take care of our veterans and our first responders and our essential workers. We know that if we help Biden and Harris build back better, it will be our time. This nation is ready for a change like we have never seen before. And we cannot let them stop us this time from exercising our right to vote. It is a constitutional right to have an unfettered, unabridged right to vote. So no matter what they do, we're going to have to do our part. That means that we have 75 days before the election. Every day is election day. You either need to be educating somebody about how they vote. You need to either be getting your application so that you can vote from home if that is what you choose to do. You need to make sure that everything is in place so that all of us can feel good about casting our ballot and saying to the entire United States, it is our time. I thank you so much for having me here with you today, but know this, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that the Biden-Harris ticket has the opportunity to build back better. Thank you.
I'm Louisiana Senator Karen Carter Peterson, and I serve as the DNC Vice Chair for Civic Engagement and Voter Protection. Welcome to the 2020 Democratic National Convention. Although this is an unconventional convention, I hope you're as excited as I am. We have an amazing lineup this week as Democrats focus on uniting America to build a more just, more democratic, kinder, and stronger country. This convention is for all Americans, and it marks the start of an extraordinarily important election season, perhaps one of the most important in our lifetime. As our nominee, Vice President Joe Biden, often says, this is a fight for the soul of this nation, and now is not the time to be complacent. As so many of you already know, elections are not a spectator sport. It requires that everyone get in the game. Every day, Donald Trump and his band of Republican enablers threaten the very life of our democracy, leaving our elections unprotected from foreign interference, ignoring the public health crisis that COVID-19 represents, igniting the flames of long-standing racial injustice, and standing by idly while our economy continues to struggle and millions of Americans face the threat of eviction, food insecurity, and bankruptcy. The only thing Donald Trump cares about is creating a divided America. But we have hope on the horizon in our historic Democratic presidential ticket. Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris represent everything that is great about the Democratic Party and our great country. And I can't wait to see them take on Donald Trump and Mike Pence on the campaign trail. With President Joe Biden, we the people will mean all the people. Voting rights are most certainly on the ballot this year, and our party is working hard with allies to protect the right to vote. We support all options that allow voters to cast a ballot safely. That includes both in-person voting and voting by mail. For in-person voting, we support expanded early voting options, the use of vote centers, and expanded curbside voting. We also realize that the vast majority of poll workers across the country are seniors, and we have to do everything in our power to make sure that we protect our poll workers and the vital work they do. Adequate staffing and personal protective equipment are a must for every precinct in the nation to protect them and our democracy. We also support voting by mail. Voting by mail is a safe and secure way to cast a ballot. After all, we've been doing it since the 1800s. However, the post office must have the capacity and the resources to assure successful and timely voting this year. This election is too important to sit it out, and there are many things that you can do to make sure we protect the right to vote. First, make sure you're registered to vote. If you're already registered, check your registration status to make sure registration is up to date. We've developed a great tool to help you do just that. Go to iwillvote.com. There, you can check your registration and see if your precinct location has changed. It's that easy. Second, make a plan to vote. It's never too early to make your plan to vote. When will you vote? Are you voting early, in person? What day? How will you vote? If voting by mail, when, will you order your ballot? When will your ballot be mailed to you so you can watch for it? You will want to vote your ballot as soon as you get it and return it right away, just in case there are delays. We know that making a plan and sticking to that plan solves a lot of problems. So encourage all of your friends to make a plan to vote. Third, get engaged. There are many volunteer opportunities available, including many remote opportunities. We have had to rethink how we connect with voters this year, and your state party needs you and your help. Finally, if you have questions, utilize the year-round voter assistance hotline our department has set up as a resource. Call 833-DEM-VOTE. That's 833-336-8683. Protecting the vote this year is going to take all of us. I hope you will join me in these efforts as we elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and many other great Democrats up and down the ballot.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Pugh, and I am Secretary Treasurer of the Women's Caucus, and I am thrilled to introduce our next panel. Courageous, fearless, savvy, brilliant, change agents. That's what comes to mind when I think of these three leaders. Jen O'Malley Dillon, the Biden-Harris campaign manager. Julie Chavez Rodriguez, senior advisor and having previously served as Senator Harris's national political director. Erin Wilson, the campaign's political director. Between them, these three incredible women have led the DNC, served in the Obama White House, elected senators, governors, members of Congress, probably some school board members. But here's the bottom line. When we win this election to send Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to the White House, you won't be able to tell the story of how we did it without talking about the strategic vision and leadership of Jen, Julie, and Erin. I am proud to introduce these three leaders of the Democratic Party. My sisters, please welcome Jen O'Malley Dillon, Julie Chavez Rodriguez, and Erin Wilson.
Thanks so much, Carrie. And hello, Women's Caucus. It is so wonderful to be here with you. And I love talking about the Biden-Harris campaign. I can hear that over and over again. What a special day to be here with you and a special night we have before us with such an incredible ticket that we're all working so hard for. I am so proud to be on this campaign. I'm so proud to be part of a team that is led by women up and down our entire campaign, and to know at the heart of what we need to do every day to be successful is to reach out and ensure that we are speaking to and supporting women all across this country. They're the backbone of our party, women of color in particular, and we are doing the work. So I'm going to ask Julie to talk through what we are doing as a campaign to reach women, because it is such an important part of how we're going to win 270 electoral votes this cycle.
Thanks so much, Jen. And thank you, Carrie, for that warm introduction. You know, it's so exciting to be here with the Women's Caucus, as Jen mentioned, on today, you know, of all days, given our program tonight for the convention. And we have been engaging women and organizing women, you know, over the last several months. And I know a critical effort was made throughout the primary season as well. We have our Women for Biden initiative. I know many of you all know about that, but if you're not part of it, you can be a part of it by texting women to 30330 and join our movement today. We've also been doing virtual phone banks on a regular basis with women, really making sure that women are reaching out to voters across the country, and really utilizing, you know, amazing women surrogates that we have, and to really help to tell our story, and to ensure that, again, we're, you know, motivating folks and getting them to take action, not just to make a plan to vote, but to also volunteer, sign up for more shifts, and to really do their part to reach out to all of our women voters. So, Erin, you know, maybe you can talk a little bit about ways that we're engaging our women elected officials and women leaders, since they're our eyes and ears on the ground. And we know our best ideas don't come from Washington, as my former boss, Barack Obama and Joe Biden taught us. They come from our communities across the country. So, Erin?
Thanks, Julie, and thank you, Democratic Women's Caucus. It is so exciting to be here today, just as Jen and Julie mentioned, of all days, with a historic speech this evening with Senator Kamala Harris. And how about Dr. Biden last night? I don't know about you guys, but I still have chills from her speech for our next First Lady. It's just a really, really thrilling time on the campaign. We've got 76 days left. We are working with women elected officials and stakeholders at every iteration of this campaign, because we know that women's issues are all issues, and that every time we put a policy forward, we want to make sure that we are looking at that from the perspective of women and including women within that entire process. We had a beautiful and really strong rollout of our women's agenda within the last month, and was delighted to work with a number of different, first of all, members of this caucus, as well as members of the Democratic Women's Caucus, to pull together some really strong ideas that reflect the administration that we hope to have the opportunity to implement. And that's talking about everything from economic security to tackling health inequities to helping women navigate work and families, and continuing some of the great work that the Vice President has already led in terms of ending violence against women. But one of the things that I think is most exciting is when we think about kind of what, what's next. We're so excited about Kamala Harris is our running mate. We are thrilled to have her alongside this ticket. And we are making a commitment to women, not only now within this campaign, within the strong leadership that we have in this campaign, but also in our states. We've got dynamic women that are leading our state teams in Florida, Iowa, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Ohio. And then we've also got the Vice President has made a commitment to nominating the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court. He's going to bring back the Women and Girls Commission in the White House. So we have a lot that we are talking about, a lot in terms of our commitment to women, both not only within this campaign and how we're running this campaign, but also what we look to accomplish when we have the opportunity in a Biden White House. But we're doing a lot of things, and there's no denying that this cycle is a little unique for a bunch of different reasons. And so I'm gonna hand it back over to Jen to tell you a little bit about some of the different ways that we as a campaign are reaching out to folks to mobilize voters in the midst of a global pandemic.
Thanks, Erin. And I know you guys have an amazing program coming up. So I just wanted to make sure to let you know that there are so many ways to plug into the campaign. Our goal is to create as many pathways to 270 electoral votes as possible, and it's going to take all of us. This is going to be an incredibly close election. We believe we have an expanded map. We know that we need each and every one of you to make sure that you are there to be able to help us carry this across the line. We know that this fall, the race is going to tighten up, and it's going to come down to not just what we're doing on the campaign, but what each and every one of you are able to do. So please make sure you go to joebiden.com. We have brand new tools, a great app for you to take a look at and take out for a spin. You might live in a battleground state, you might not. There's so many things that you can do to help. Most importantly, make sure you're getting the word out about getting involved, voting early, and making sure that we tell the story about what's at stake in this election, because this one's for all the marbles. So thank you to everyone. So great to be here. Can't wait to be with you again tonight. And we really look forward to everything we're going to do together.
Yeah. How wonderful it is to hear from these amazing women of the campaign. And this will help us do great work to help elect our candidates, and especially the Biden-Harris ticket. It is my honor to introduce Dina Titus. She represents the 1st Congressional District of Nevada. She has built a strong record of achievement as both an educator and a public servant. COVID-19 has impacted so many areas of this country, and Las Vegas is no exception to being hit hard economically. The congressman worked in the House of Representatives on the HEROES Act in May to provide relief for people suffering from the consequences of this terrible virus. She knows firsthand about the difficulties that people are experiencing in her state. The representative will be returning to Congress to join with her Democratic colleagues to save the U.S. Postal Service with those who are trying to undermine our democracy. Join me in welcoming Congresswoman Titus.
Well, thank you so much, Vice Chair Ritchie. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for including me. And I must say, thank you for saying Nevada correctly. Many people make that mistake, and you certainly didn't. So it's a delight to be here. I know these are difficult times, and I just hope everybody's family is staying safe and protected. I wish we could all be together in person, but thanks to this technology, at least we can be united virtually. And I think that the convention has done a fabulous job of using this technology to show people from all over the country, all walks of life, the face of America is really represented by the Democrats here. And it was fun for me to give the Nevada vote in front of the fabulous Las Vegas sign here in my district, and just to see people from all over the country in their home district. So thank you to the team that's put all this together. I do represent the heart of Las Vegas, and we are so dependent on tourism and hospitality that we were hit very hard by this economic depression, really. Our unemployment has been among the highest in the country, and right now it's twice as high as the national average. And because it is a service industry, the large majority of the people who work there are women, and the majority of those women are women of color. So you can see why doing economic policy like Joe Biden has proposed will really make a difference to help us come back. We know if we do it together, we will come back, because Las Vegas is a very resilient community. And Joe Biden has said that there's nothing we haven't overcome if we're in it together. And I know that the Democrats are. I've been inspired the last two nights from fabulous speakers, from women leaders and up and coming women stars. And I know the next two nights are going to be equally great. You know, we here in Las Vegas want real policies that make real differences, and we're just not buying what Donald Trump has been trying to sell. We realize that if you don't address the virus, that you can't fix the economy. The two have to go together, because we are hurt worse than the national economy, because people have to have a little money in their pocket to go on holiday, and they have to feel safe and like frolicking to want to take that vacation. So if you don't address the virus, you won't save the economy. And Joe Biden realizes that, and Donald Trump doesn't. One day it's going to go away. One day we're doing great. One day it's China's fault, ignoring the science. And Joe Biden has not. He has said we have to listen to the healthcare experts, listen to the scientists, and go after this with a national policy. And then when you get a handle on this virus, we can build back better. Now, he knows that the virus didn't create all of the economic problems, but they have certainly exacerbated them for certain segments of our society. So he has a very solid plan for bringing this economy back and making it work for all of us, not just a few people. Now, that's important to us, too, because some of these jobs aren't coming back. We've seen how many restaurants have gone bankrupt, how many places, small businesses aren't going to reopen. So we're going to need that investment in job training to be sure that people have a job to come back to so they can take care of their families. Another thing he's talked about that's important for us here in Nevada as part of the West is the environmental policy, investing in good jobs that address problems of climate change. And here in Nevada, we are in the desert. It's 113 degrees out there today. Water is a valuable resource to us, but we can harness solar power and wind power and get us off fossil fuels. And that's all part of Joe Biden's plan for good jobs in the future. And I might just say that our vice presidential nominee, Senator Harris, is from California. First time we've had a vice presidential candidate west of Texas, and she has said that Nevada is like a first cousin to her. So these issues of land use, national parks, clean air, clean water will be front and center on the agenda thanks to her help. And I think that's going to be very important. You heard Betty say that we passed the CARES Act a long time ago, and then we passed the HEROES Act over 3 months ago. And so that was to help us with sustained success and sustained recovery. But the Republicans are just taking their time. They think we can pause. Well, we can't pause. And Democrats are not pausing. And we are going to get out the vote and elect this ticket and make a change come November. I'm excited about it. Thank you for your help.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's wonderful to see you all around the country, and welcome to the Women's Caucus. I'm one of the vice chairs and super excited, especially to be a vice chair at this time with the historic nomination or acceptance of the nomination for Senator Kamala Harris this evening as our vice president on the ticket. I have the honor of introducing Congresswoman Lauren Underwood from Illinois 14. She is one of the youngest Black women currently serving. She is the youngest Black woman serving in Congress. She is also the first person of color, first woman, and first millennial to represent her community as well. Prior to her being elected to Congress, she served in the Obama administration as a senior advisor at the Health and Human Services Department. And as part of her expansive portfolio, she also focused on the implementation and expansion of the Affordable Care Act and patient protection. Before her amazing work in Congress, she was a registered nurse, and she also got her master's degree in public health and a master's of science in nursing. So she is one who gives plenty of her time back also, even while in Congress, being an adjunct professor to other nurse practitioners. And her background and experience are extremely relevant in this time, specifically, I said, a young Black healthcare professional and expert at a time when this pandemic is raging. So as a fellow Black woman millennial, it gives me great honor to introduce Congresswoman Lauren Underwood.
Hi, everyone. I'm honored to be with you this evening. 3 years ago, I attended my congressman's one and only public event of the year in St. Charles, Illinois. That night, he made a promise to my community. He said he would not vote to repeal healthcare protections for people with pre-existing conditions, people like me. My name is Lauren Underwood, and I'm a registered nurse and public health expert who worked to implement the Affordable Care Act. So you know I was following this debate really closely. 2 weeks after he made that promise to his constituents, he went back on his word. I knew our community deserved better representation in Congress, so I decided, you know what? It's on. I'm running. With the support of my community, we unseated a 4-term Republican member of Congress in a district formerly held by the Republican Speaker of the House. I come before you today as the youngest Black woman to ever serve in the Congress and the first woman and first millennial to ever represent Illinois' beautiful 14th District. I am one member of the youngest Congress in a generation, the most diverse Congress in American history. And let me tell you, women's voices are the loudest, boldest, and most powerful coming out of our Congress. Women are leading the way and are saving our democracy. In Congress, it's women who are fighting for paid family leave and affordable child care, women fighting for health care for our families, women fighting for equal pay, and women are fighting for our public school teachers and students. These priorities have only become more urgent in the face of the coronavirus pandemic because these issues aren't just women's issues. We're talking about our families, our health, and our communities. This pandemic represents a once-in-a-generation crisis that will change our world forever. But it's also a once-in-a-generation opportunity to catapult us into an economy and a healthcare system that works for everyone. And I know that women will lead the way because it's women who are on the front lines of this pandemic. Think about our nurses, our social workers, our grocery store clerks, our frontline workers in this nation are women. We have to remember, even in good times, working women face a staggering pay gap. Compared to every dollar earned by white men, Latina women earn 54 cents on the dollar, Native women earn 57 cents, and Black women earn 62 cents. So because our Republican colleagues in the Senate have refused to come to the negotiating table for another coronavirus relief bill, it's working women and their families who are facing the consequences. And let's be clear, the consequences that we're talking about are life and death. Women need us to step up and fight for their families, their health, and their livelihoods, and they need us now. I'm here today because of the women who came before me. Congresswoman Jeanette Rankin, a woman elected to Congress 4 years before women received the constitutional right to vote, was instrumental in passing the 19th Amendment 100 years ago. I wear white in honor of her work. Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, a personal hero of mine, showed us all how to lead fearlessly. The first Black Congresswoman in our history, unbought and unbossed. Senator Carol Moseley Braun, the first Black woman ever elected to the Senate. As a child, it was striking to see my senator look like me. Every single day, I see women like Shannon Watts, Agent Pooh, Brittany Packnett, and Lorella Pirelli doing the work, leading us to a more perfect union. And listen, I know we call it Obamacare, but we would not have the Affordable Care Act without our fearless leader, Speaker Nancy Pelosi. My family always taught me that courage was grounded in choosing to act. Courage is choosing to start that business you always dreamed of. It's knowing that just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean that you can't do it. For me, courage was stepping into my congressional race as a 30-year-old Black woman with a full-time job, with the certainty that my community deserved better representation in Congress and the belief that I could offer it. During that campaign, I heard from families in my community who desperately needed help. I heard from people who had to ration insulin and other prescription drugs due to high cost. So I wrote the Lower Insulin Costs Now Act, which was signed into law by the president to make certain that no parent has to worry about how they would pay for their child's insulin. And it's not just that prescription drugs are too expensive, it's that premiums and doctor's visits and co-payments are too expensive. There are families in the 14th district who are spending 25% of their income on healthcare premiums. So I wrote the Healthcare Affordability Act, and I know our future President Joe Biden will help me push that legislation across the finish line. I also decided to take on a project that's deeply personal to me. In Illinois, women who look like me are 6 times more likely to die from a pregnancy-related complication than white women. 72% of those deaths are preventable. The United States, it has the highest maternal mortality rate in the developed world, and it's only getting worse. As a registered nurse, I knew I could make a difference, so I teamed up with a colleague from North Carolina, Dr. Alma Adams, to co-found the Black Maternal Health Caucus and save moms' lives. In March, Congresswoman Adams and I, along with our future Vice President and my friend Senator Kamala Harris, introduced the Black Maternal Health Momnibus Act of 2020, comprehensive legislation to address this health crisis. Look at what can happen when we have real representation in the Congress. And even though we represent more than half of the U.S. population, women only represent less than a quarter of the United States Congress. But I know that we're going to have more women join us come November. Ladies, this is the most important election of our lifetime. So here's the deal. I know that we are always chatting with our girlfriends about the best books to read or shows to stream, but this year we've got to check in with everyone to make sure that we know what's on the ballot this fall. Our democracy, our healthcare, our reproductive freedom, it's all on the line, and it's on us to send 2 champions to the White House for women and working families. I'm talking about Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris. Girlfriends, it's time. Men, it's time. I'm calling on you to make a plan to vote and join us in the work to restore our democracy. Friends, it's on. Thank you.
Out of many comes one, the Democratic motto. I'm humbled to be able to speak before the Women's Caucus. Thank you, President Lottie Shackelford, for your outstanding leadership and all of your officers. Women bring people together. Women unify people. And so this is an opportunity for this dynamic ticket, a humble man by the name of Joe Biden, who I met some many years ago, standing alongside of him in the United States Congress, fighting to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act. He's always had a special interest and concern to empower women and to ensure justice. Senator Kamala Harris, who I stood alongside of once she entered the United States Congress and worked hard for criminal justice reform. There is a need for women's voices and women's unity in the fight for racial equity and justice. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the Biden-Harris team has an outstanding plan because they recognize the inequity in wealth between Black Americans and the general American public. It is $17,000 to upwards of $150,000. That is the gap. We also know that in this terrible time of COVID-19, unemployment numbers are high. Yes, they are. But they're mostly high in the African American community. And as well, we bow our heads for the loss of so many, 170,000 plus, but high numbers of African Americans. Women of all backgrounds can be the unifying force to be able to support this great dynamic racial justice program. What does it include? More investment in historically Black colleges, closing the gap on minority businesses, particularly Black businesses, ensuring that there is diversity in federal agencies. You know that does not exist now. Making sure that compensation for Black Americans and people of color have to be equal or has to be improved. What an amazing commitment to the concept of racial justice and racial equity, realizing that there should be an investment in affordable housing, as well as the fact creating a large research funding, $300 million, of which a portion of that will focus on extinguishing some of the more devastating diseases that are found in minority populations and Black communities. Yes, this is a commitment to bringing us together. We are many, but women have the uncanny ability of looking each other in the eye. So many different backgrounds in the Women's Caucus, and you have been unified. And then you understand something else as well, the loss of a child. So you understand Eric Garner's mother as she listened to the words, "I can't breathe," and lost her son. Or you can understand the baby daughter of George Floyd and his brothers and sisters who live here in Houston who said, "I can't breathe." Or Tamir Rice's mother, where the Department of Justice under Trump have yet not brought an investigation. You now can see the contrast of a president of the United States that says in Charlottesville, there are good people on both sides. Or you can understand when a president of the United States has been accused by so many women of so many things. Or when he stands to accuse and say words about women of color that no one would want to hear. You see the difference in compassion of Joe Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris and this president of the United States. As I said earlier, 170,000 people have died from COVID-19. And of course, I'm standing in a hot spot. You understand the compassion shown by this ticket of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, because Joe Biden stood along President Obama and had a pandemic office that helped us stop Ebola in its tracks. You are mothers and sisters and wives, and you're women, and you're problem solvers. You frankly understand that racial equity must be in place. That's why you would understand H.R. 40, the Commission to Study and Develop Reparations Proposals that Joe Biden is considering, because he is a man of compassion, and he's a man that understands that the nation needs repairing and restoration. Your understanding, your ability to heal is so very crucial. I'm so excited to be able to be standing among these great women all around the nation and to work with women in the United States Congress, because I will tell you, we solve problems. We work on the issues of maternal mortality. We work on the issues dealing with babies in cages. We work on understanding women who are incarcerated. We've worked together as women to make a difference. Joe Biden accepts that in his racial justice and equity plan, and he is willing to embrace all of us in this dynamic nation where we started out by saying to create a more perfect union. Women are healers. With the racial equity and justice plan of this team, Biden and Harris, we can heal the nation together. Thank you for allowing me to come before this dynamic group. Out of many comes one. We are healers. Thank you.
Hi, it is now my honor to introduce two women who know Vice President Biden as well as anyone, Ashley Biden and Valerie Biden Owens. Ashley Biden is a social worker, criminal justice reform advocate, entrepreneur. Last night, she gave us a heartfelt window into her family life, her relationship with her parents, and in particular, Dr. Biden, her mother's strength. Valerie Biden Owens, the vice president's sister, was Vice President Biden's campaign manager for each of his winning runs for the Senate. If I'm not mistaken, she managed her brother's county council race right back when they were just getting started. She has been her brother's closest advisor throughout his career. If we all do our part, Val's brother and Ashley's parents will move into 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue next winter. Please join me in welcoming Valerie Biden Owens and Ashley Biden. Ashley, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for the introduction. It is such an exciting time for women in politics. A record number of women are running for office. More than 2,200 women are vying for seats in the state legislatures across the country. More than 300 women are campaigning for the House. Incredible candidates are on the front lines of the fight to win back the Senate. And this November, we'll elect our first Madam Vice President. So much of this progress is the result of the hard work that leaders and activists like you do every single day, marching, organizing, and getting out the vote. So thank you for all that you do. I'm here at the DNC this week because I adore my dad, and I deeply believe and know that he has the character and the vision to lead this country. But let me tell you why I know he's the right person for this moment. When I was younger, I spent a lot of time with my dad in communities that were hurting. I saw schools that didn't have the resources mine had, kids growing up around poverty and hunger and violence, families struggling to keep a roof over their heads. But my dad never let us look away. He taught us that everyone deserves to have the same opportunities that we had. Right now, people are suffering. We're experiencing collective loss and grief at the hands of this pandemic. We're struggling to keep our economy afloat, and we're outraged at the systemic racism that continues to plague every aspect of our society. And women are being hit especially hard. Economists say we're in a C-session because women, and especially women of color, have been hit hardest by job losses, school closures, and lack of childcare options. But we also know that we can't just return to normal. Women are still paid just 81 cents on the dollar, and it's much less for women of color. Women still struggle to afford basic necessities for their families. Women's health and security were under threat long before this pandemic. So when I say that I'm excited about a Biden presidency, it's not just because I think my dad is a great person. It's because he truly gets it, and there's no one better to lead us forward. He has plans to achieve equal pay, end violence against women, improve our public schools, and create affordable childcare options, generate new jobs and revigorate our economy with aggressive climate action, and address racial and economic disparities. But it's not just about his policies. It's also about his character. Our family has experienced great loss, pain, adventure, joy, heartache. But no matter what we have been through, my dad never gave up on me, and he never gave up on our family. And I promise you this, he will never give up on you either. He will work to make you proud, and he'll fight for you and all of us in the White House. But right now, he needs all of us to have his back. I know that all of you are here at the DNC because you know that right now we need to fight harder than ever before. Because after 3 years of Donald Trump, it is clear that our health, our schools, our jobs, our rights as women are on the ballot. And make no mistake, women elected President Obama. Women elected the most diverse Congress in history. And women will elect my dad, Joe Biden, and our first Madam Vice President, Kamala Harris. And when we do, we'll show everyone that Beyonce was right. Girls, women do run the world. So Women for Biden, keep registering new voters, bringing folks into the fold and getting out the vote. You can find a lot of ways to get involved by going to joebiden.com/join. We are so proud and grateful to have you on our team. Please stay encouraged, stay focused, stay kind to one another, and stay healthy. And now I'd like to invite my Aunt Valerie to share more about my dad with you. You know, we now have 8,000 women in our Women for Biden coalition. But my aunt is the original Women for Biden. She ran his first campaign for class president, and since then she has helped him in every single race, including as the first woman to manage a Senate campaign and win. Please welcome my aunt, my mentor, one of my heroes, Valerie Biden Owens.
Thank you, honey. Thank you very much. You are a really tough act to follow, I'll tell you. I am really happy to be here. Madam Chair, Carrie, where are you? Are you still here? I don't see your face, but I know you're still on. I am here to tell you that you're all appreciated, and I'm counting on you pulling us over the finish line in November and getting my brother and Kamala Harris into the White House. Look, we women will make all the difference in this election. We saw it after Trump won. We stood up and said, no more. No more, not on my watch. And we ran for office, we volunteered, we flipped the House, and that was just the start. And now we have to finish the job and elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as our next president and vice president. I promise you that Joe and Kamala will win. They'll beat Trump, period. And the reason is because character's on the ballot. Joe is a decent, honorable, strong man who was smart enough to choose a woman who was equally as bright and as capable and as tough as he. A woman who is ready on day one to step into the job where she called to do so. I want to make something really clear. I want to state the obvious. My brother Joe, Ashley's dad, has absolutely nothing in common with Donald Trump. They are the polar opposites. And that's what makes me so proud to call my brother Joe, and nothing like this man. From the top of the ticket, Joe and Kamala, we know that they have to keep the blue states. We've got to regain the purple states, which we shouldn't have lost. And what we have to do, though, is this time around, we have to really go into the red states and we have to cut the margins. We're not going to win them, but we have to cut the margins so that when Joe and Kamala get to the White House, they will keep the House and they'll have a Senate that will move to pass the legislation that they need to have done. Ashley went through all the policies that you know and the platform that you already know, or you wouldn't be here, Women for Biden. She did it brilliantly. So I don't want to repeat anything that she said. I thought I'd just tell you a couple personal stories about my brother from a sister's point of view. because there's really no daylight between the private man and the public servant. From the time that I was a little kid, first thing I remember, I opened my eyes and my big brother was there and he put out his hand and he said, "Come on, Val." He said, "We've got things to do and places to go and people to see." And we began our journey. I was his perpetual sidekick. Wherever he went, he took me. And when we'd go up and he'd bring me into his friends and they look and say, "Why did you bring a girl?" And my brother would say, "She's not a girl, she's my sister." So, I learned that I thought I was kind of special. My brother told me that whatever he could do, I could do better. I promise you, my word of honor. Now, that was not possible. He was so much older, and now he's so much, much, much older. Stick with me on that one. He was older and stronger and taller than I, but he said his confidence in me and telling me that I was capable, I knew that I owed it to him and to myself to try harder and to be better. He wanted others to see me the way that he saw me, which was strong and tough and capable. Now, I tell you this story not so much to tell you what a great big brother he was, because he was, but it's because it's the way that he leads. He didn't say to me as a little girl tagging along beside him, "Pat, pat, pat, you sweet little thing. Now you just bless your little heart. You just stay there and I'm going to take care of everything for you." Instead, he grabbed my hand. He said, "Come on, stand up, Val, shoulders back. Let's go. Let's do this together. You got it. You can do it." And we did it together. He gives confidence. He relates to people, and he takes care of people in the best sense of the word by letting people take care of themselves. He gives you confidence. So when you see him now, he walks into a room, he kind of takes the oxygen out of it, like he's this powerful person. But that confidence that he exudes now wasn't in his DNA. He wasn't born with it. To the contrary, when he was a little kid, he stuttered terribly. He could not string more than 3 words together. But you know what? He was a little boy with a backbone of steel, and he was not going to be defined by a bully. Now, each one of us, he's not so unusual. I mean, I bet every single one of us remembers that bully, whether it was that girl in 5th grade or that guy in college or that person in your workplace right now. Humiliation has a real long shelf life. And when you think of that person, at least with me, I can feel the bile still come in the back of my throat, So Joe knows what it's like to have been silenced and to be shut down. And that's why he developed, that experience of growing out of stuttering was probably the best thing that ever happened to him, because it gave him a quality that is so lacking in today's world, particularly in politics, and it's called empathy. I mean, imagine that, a president with empathy. So you guys, generic, we women, we can taste and we can feel and we can read between the lines. And that's another thing that my brother has. My mom used to tell us that you should listen for equally to what is not said. And sometimes what's not said is more important than what is said. So that's what we do. That's what we've done all of our lives. But now, we're not going to just read between the lines. With our vice president, she is going to be standing right next to my brother, and she's going to be shouting out the lines and listening very, very, very carefully to what you have to say. So I'll end with an old adage, and it says that people don't care what you know until they know you care. And my brother cares. You care. Woman power. Joe Biden respects women power. Donald Trump is scared to death of it. So let's, Ashley, I want to be a little bit vulgar here. But I'm encouraging all of our women friends, let's go kick ass, okay? And let's win in November. Thanks.
I'm Biden and Kamala Harris in the White House, and Democratic leadership in the House and the Senate. all working together to restore our hope and renew our faith in the promise of America. Working together to ensure that the American dream is for all of us. The least, the last, and the lost, the left out, the locked out, and the left behind, and most especially our children. To ensure an America that works for all of us with equality, fairness, and equal opportunity. I'm fired up. Let's get this.
Greetings to all my sisters in the Women's Caucus. This is Maria Elena Durazo, DNC Vice Chair and California State Senator. Thank you, Lottie, for all of your incredible hard work. And thank you to the officers of the caucus and to all of my comadres in the Democratic Party. I'm fired up to fight for our families. I'm fired up to fight for the beautiful people of all colors in our communities. I'm fired up to get rid of that guy in the White House that has completely lost his way. He is not acting like a child of God. He is causing millions of men, women, and children to suffer. We have to stop him. Enough is enough. I'm fired up to fight for equal pay. I'm fired up to stop the senseless murders of our Black and brown young men and women. Black lives matter. I'm fired up to stop the locking up of our children in cages. I'm fired up to make sure women are treated with respect in their workplaces, whether they're garment workers and domestic workers or grocery store workers or nurses. I'm fired up to elect as the next president of the United States, Joe Biden, and also that fabulous, remarkable, intelligent, and fierce sister, Kamala Harris, to be our next vice president. We are not going to let anyone or anything get in our way. We're going to go door to door, one by one. That's how we win. Sisters know how to get things done. We are fired up. Sí se puede.
I am Lorna M. Johnson, Assistant Treasurer at the DNC, and I'm fired up. I'm fired up because I'm a proud Democrat. And like Kamala, I'm a proud American with little bit, but with talawa. I'm fired up. I'm fired up to have seen a Black man in the White House and now a Black woman on her way. And what do you find in between? A tormented Trump. I'm fired up. As a woman, have you ever been told you're too ambitious? Well, I have. Now little girls don't have to feel they're too ambitious anymore. They can dream and live and be. In a few months, with a true leader in the White House, we'll be able to wear a mask. The curve will be flattened. More lives will be saved. I'm so fired up. Biden-Harris ticket in the White House. I am fired up. Are you? Go vote.
Has allowed women like Kamala Harris to ascend to the vice presidency of the United States. I'm fired up because this party is still working for everyday people, ordinary Americans from all walks of life. So join me as we fire up all Americans from sea to shining sea, and we prepare for them to lead us. And of course, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, all the way from the courthouse to the White House. Let's fire up our neighbors. Let's fire up our co-workers. Let's fire up our fellow congregations. Let's fire up the spirit of America, and let's fire up people in the spirit of Geraldine Ferraro, of Hillary Clinton, of Shirley Chisholm, of Barbara Jordan. Let's stay fired up until Election Day as we register more people to turn out and vote. And let's stay fired up until a new generation can take their seats at the table. God bless you. Stay fired up and get ready to go. I love you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Donna. That was wonderful, fired up and ready to go. So we've heard a lot in this program about the importance of our vote as women and women's political leadership. Well, now you get to hear from leaders who will really lay out the stark consequences of what will happen to reproductive rights and justice if we don't win these elections this fall, if we don't elect Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris. So I want to introduce the next person to speak is Elise Hogue. She is the president of NARAL since 2013. And since 2013, under her leadership, the organization's membership has tripled, as well as advanced, tripled by 2.5 million members, actually, and has advanced federal and state legislation on abortion access, and particularly to expand and protect it, while also fighting a lot of the abortion bans that have been happening across the country. So thank you so much, Elise Hogue, for all that you're doing, and we're so glad that you're able to join us here live today.
Thank you so much, Atima, for your leadership and for that great introduction. It's an honor to be here representing NARAL Pro-Choice America members with all of these other tremendous leaders and allies. People ask me every day what's motivating me to get out the vote this November, and I have one answer for that question: everything. Our rights, our freedoms, our desire to have public policy guided by science and facts, and yes, our democracy are on the line this November. Our reproductive freedom and access to abortion are facing an existential threat. And that is not by accident, that is by design. For so long, the right has pursued an agenda grounded in oppression, reproductive oppression, gender oppression, racial oppression, LGBTQ oppression, and oppression of our immigrant brothers and sisters. The right and the GOP have one pursuit: control. Control for a small minority of people over our economic, social, and political systems, and yes, over our bodies and our right to make a decision about what is best for our lives, our families, and our future. When you seek control for a minority, when you want to keep the rest of us in our place, you have to undermine democracy to do it, and that's what they're trying to do. So we are all in this together, and our choice could not be more clear or more joyful. Our choice is between the cruelty and the cronyism that has dominated the Trump-Pence administration and the compassion and conviction that we know guides Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in everything they do. And women do and will make the difference again. We will fight and lead and rally and vote for the Biden-Harris victory in 2020, and we will have their backs to make this a transformative moment for our country. Every day until November, all 2.5 million NARAL members will be fighting like our lives depend on it, because they do. And I know that there is power in our vision for a future where reproductive freedom is a reality for everybody. And that when we come together and fight for it, we will win. All of the women we are hearing from today are proof of our passion and our determination that to keep showing up fuels change. And women will make this clear again in November. Now I introduce to you my friend and one of the most tremendous leaders in this country, Planned Parenthood President Alexis McGill Johnson.
Thank you so much, Elise. Winning this election, we know will take all of us, and we are so proud to fight alongside NARAL for reproductive freedom. You know, and I know that sexual and reproductive rights turn people out to vote, because what we are really talking about is, as you said, freedom. This evening, we're hearing so many incredible women electeds make their case for the future. And tonight, we'll hear from Senator Harris, our vice presidential nominee. We have a choice right now between an administration that dehumanizes and marginalizes our communities and one who champions and who will fight for our health and rights in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We need their leadership, not just to reverse the damage that the Trump administration has done, but to bring us into a future where all of our bodies are our own. To look forward, we need to honor where we've been. Tonight, we're all wearing white to honor the suffragettes. And as a proud Black woman, I also know that the 19th Amendment only gave white women the right to vote. So I'm also standing here honoring the Black suffragists who planted seeds in a garden so many of them never got to see. Ida B. Wells, the Fortin sisters, Anna Julia Cooper, Nellie Quander, and so many more women of color who helped pave the way. 100 years ago, they were fighting for us. Today, we can honor their legacy by fighting for policies that finally deliver on the liberty and justice we were all promised. Planned Parenthood patients live at the intersection of multiple injustices. They might be undocumented. They might be grappling with issues related to their LGBTQ plus identity, or they might have low incomes. They might leave a health center who only just to be pulled over by a police officer for no other reason than the color of their skin. And the last 4 years have multiplied the hardships that they face. So Planned Parenthood Action Fund is ready to organize, ready to fight for the 16 million Planned Parenthood supporters nationwide who already know our bodies are our own. I'm ready to vote. I literally cannot wait to vote for freedom, for justice in this country, no matter the color of our skin, no matter our zip code, our immigration status, no matter our gender identity. We need a mandate, and we are going to get one. We are going to reclaim and build our power. Planned Parenthood Action Fund members are ready to hustle. I know you are too. I'm ready to. Let's do this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Gallardo Rooker. I am the Vice Chair for the DNC Women's Caucus and the Vice Chair from California. I have the distinct honor and pleasure of introducing Congresswoman Veronica Escobar. She is a third-generation El Pasoan, proudly representing the 16th Congressional District in Texas. You all saw her last night at the convention as one of our rising stars within the Democratic Party. I am so proud to see a fellow Latino rising up. So I want to tell you that she was elected last year in 2019 of January, and she took that seat and she made history as the first woman elected to that seat in Congress and the second or the two Latinas from Texas to represent Congress. So I am very proud to see a fellow Latina making history. And I've always said Latinas can do 10 things at one time and do them all well. So without further ado, Congresswoman Veronica Escobar.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chairwoman, and many thanks to all of you watching at home during this unconventional but really creative and wonderful opportunity that we've gotten to be together in a different and unique way. As the Vice Chairwoman mentioned, I get to represent the incredible community of El Paso, Texas, on the safe and secure U.S.-Mexico border. Our community, my community, El Paso, has been ground zero during the Trump administration's assault on communities of color and attacks on immigrants. In fact, El Paso, unfortunately, has been the testing ground for many of this administration's abhorrent and horrific policies that have dehumanized migrants, vulnerable families, policies that have separated families, policies that have created fear and terror in the lives of so many. We also have been on the receiving end of the president's dishonest attacks against the border, attacks that are rooted in racism and xenophobia, attacks that fuel hatred. And I believe it was that hatred and that racism and that xenophobia that the president has fomented for so many years that inspired a domestic terrorist to drive more than 10 hours, over 600 miles, to slaughter members of my community because he was inspired by hatred and moved by hatred. We know, women know especially, that when then when our most vulnerable are under attack, we rise to defend them. We are all about taking care of one another. We are about nurturing the vulnerable. We are about caring for the sick. We are about welcoming the stranger. We are about building family. We saw that in Dr. Jill Biden's beautiful speech last night as she talked about the way that we rebuild this country is by rebuilding families. El Paso has been at the forefront of rebuilding this country's values by responding to hate with love and compassion, goodwill and generosity and kindness. And it is time that we instill those same values in the White House. I know that with Joe Biden as our president, with Dr. Jill Biden as our first lady, and with Senator Kamala Harris as our vice president, that we are going to turn the tide finally in this country. We are facing monumental challenges. The challenges could not be greater for our generation. An eroded reputation in the world, a foundation in our democracy that has been eroded, our republic that has been attacked, families that have been separated, families that are suffering from lack of leadership during a global pandemic that has killed far too many, and a climate crisis that threatens the future of all of us. Not just our kids and our grandkids, but a climate crisis that we are seeing dramatically unfold before our eyes every single day. The only way we are going to tackle those incredible challenges is by restoring leadership at the highest levels of government. I know that women are going to save this country. It's going to be women voters. It's going to be a VP like Senator Harris. It's going to be a first lady like Dr. Jill Biden. All of us supporting our president, making sure that we are fighting for those values, defending our democracy, combating climate change, restoring the humanity to vulnerable migrants, celebrating communities of color like mine, and so many others across the country. Together, we can do it. We have to organize, mobilize, and work like we've never worked before. Indeed, this is the most important election of our lifetime. In fact, after everything that we have lived through on the border in my beautiful community, I would tell you that our lives depend on this election. And so I'm honored to work with all of you, to fight with all of you, and to make sure that on November 3rd, that night, we have, as the polls close, we know that we have done absolutely everything physically possible to make sure that we win on election day. So thank you all so much, and cannot wait for that great victory.
Thank you so much for joining us at our Women's Caucus events this week. As women, we wear so many hats: leaders in our community, leaders in our family, and now sometimes homeschoolers and caretakers. So we appreciate the time you took this week to get fired up with us. And our ask for you is to keep that fire going into sustained action. Set aside one night a week, an hour a week, or even 5 minutes a week to make calls. Text your friends, call your friends, and make sure they know how they're voting, when they're voting, and where they're voting. Or talk to your grandmother or your niece about why it's so important to make this election count, because we're counting on you. And you're part of our winning team. And talking about winning teams, I want to give thanks to my winning team for making this important moment happen. I'd like to thank all of the officers of the Women's Caucus: Sally Rosser, Betty Ritchie, Carrie Pugh, Artima O'Mara, and Alexandra Rooker. I'd also like to thank DNC's National Political and Organizing Director, Muthoni Wambu Crowell. And of course, as I've mentioned over and over, Taylor Barnes, who has been with me each and every moment throughout this convention process and pre-convention. Thank you, Taylor. The DNC convention team of Maddie Tomaszewski, Abby Watson, and Rena Patel, and so many others who made certain that we truly had a convention experience. I said we had a team, and we had a team. Caroline Wells on the speaker's team, and of course, an Arkansan, Adrian Elrod. Thank you so much. This whole production team, happily, a woman-owned company, a woman and an AAPI-owned company, with special thanks to Dana and Christine, Clayton and Keno and Brielle, Lauren and Sarah for keeping the show going no matter what. And you know, I'm from Arkansas. I'm here during this pandemic. And the Arkansas State Party of Arkansas, Michael John Gray, Karen Coleman, Reed Brewer, Jacob, Lauren, and others, making certain that Democrats know that we're out there working for them. And my personal tech support, my granddaughter, Jessica. I have 4 granddaughters and 2 grandsons, all of whom will be following the advice from their parents, my 3 kids. So let's go. Let's be victorious on November the 3rd. Kamala, we're there with you. Joe, we're there with you. Okay, let's get busy. We will be victorious November the 3rd. Thank you so much for joining the Women's Caucus 2020.
Sisters, I'm Congresswoman Gwen Moore, member of Congress representing Milwaukee, and it is such an honor to welcome you sisters to the Women's Caucus Convention kickoff. You know, if circumstances were different, I'd be welcoming each and every one of you to my home state in person, giving you all a great big old hug. But you know what? It's still my pleasure to virtually welcome each and every
I forgot my landline.
You know, it's never been clearer that we need new leadership in the White House. And guess who's going to bring that change and deliver it? Women. You know, the theme of our gathering today is Trailblazers today and tomorrow. Trailblazers today and tomorrow. It is the first woman elected to my seat here in Milwaukee and the first Black woman elected to represent Wisconsin in Congress. I know a thing or two about breaking barriers. It takes a will to win and a stubbornness to succeed. 2 traits that I know each and every one of you assembled here today have. And you know, I've got news for those who seek to delay progress. For those who say, equity can wait. Women of America have a will to win, and we have a stubbornness for every child in America to succeed. Change is coming, and the women of America are going to make sure of it. And with that, I will pass it to the chair of the Women's Caucus, a barrier breaker in her own right, my sister, Ms. Lottie Shackelford. Take it away, Lottie.
Lottie go.
Hello, Democrats. We know this convention doesn't look like the ones you've attended or seen in the past. We were supposed to be in Milwaukee, and we would have been knocking on Congresswoman Gwen Moore's door. Thank you, Congresswoman Moore, for making us feel so warmly welcomed. I'm telling you, the enthusiasm, the energy, it's here. The feeling of this convention is electric. The exciting thing about this being a virtual convention is that it opens up this convention to everyone in America. So if this is your first time attending the Women's Caucus, welcome. If this is your second or your fourth, 10th, or maybe 30th, or somewhere in between, welcome. We are thrilled to have you. I'm Lottie Shackelford, Chair of the Women's Caucus, Vice Chair Emeritus of the Democratic National Committee, and former Mayor of Little Rock, Arkansas. My fellow officers of the Women's Caucus, Sally Rosser from Georgia, Betty Ritchie from Texas, Alexandra Ruka from California, Atima O'Mara from Virginia, and Carrie Pugh from Washington, D.C., along with my staff, we have debated and we have discussed and we have strategized over the past 4 years